The brain is fascinating. You can build businesses, raise children, survive heartbreak, carry entire families on your back, and you still can secretly believe I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not lovable enough. I'm not successful enough. I don't have enough money. I'm not healed enough. I'm not chosen enough. And what's wild is your brain will search for proof that it's true, not because you're broken, but because the brain is designed for familiarity more than happiness. It wants to keep us safe. So today we're talking about one of the biggest lies that kept me stuck and that keep other people stuck. Welcome back to Cut the BS, Build the Dream. I'm Brittney Kosiv, and today we're starting a new series called The Lies Keeping You Stuck. And this one sits underneath almost every single insecurity, every toxic relationship, every moment of self-sabotage, overworking, people-pleasing, perfectionism, procrastination. I've done it all of it. And the lie is, I am not enough. And I think if I were honest, most of us don't say it out loud. We just live like it's true, right? So the crazy thing about the brain is that it's constantly creating patterns. And neuroscience shows us that the brain builds these pathways, neural pathways, based on the repetition that we give it. So if growing up, you repeatedly heard things like, we can't afford that, don't get too confident, or who do you think you are? Those kind of things, right? Or maybe love for you in the past felt conditional, either with your parents, your partner, whatever. Your brain, it starts wiring itself around scarcity and self-protection. And once a belief gets repeated enough, your nervous system, it treats it like survival. And that's why people can hear compliments and they immediately reject them. Someone might say, you're amazing. And your brain goes, nope, doesn't match the file. And then you'll laugh, change the subject, or self-deprecate, right? Because the subconscious mind loves consistency, even when consistency is painful, which is crazy. Let me tell you a little bit about how this showed up for me. And it still does sometimes. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. For me, the not enough lie shows up in a few major places: money and relationships. Growing up, I didn't know entrepreneurs. The successful people around me worked incredibly hard and still had limits financially. My dad ran a bread route for Mrs. Baird's, and my mom was a barber. And so both of them blue collar, hardworking people. I say all the time that my work ethic came from my parents. But even when I got into real estate and I started making real money, there was still a part of me that thought, this is probably not going to last. Like somehow wealth belonged to other people, not me. In relationships, that one is a tough one for me. The lie always comes up with, I need someone. Not necessarily because I'm weak, but because somewhere deep down, I don't fully trust myself sometimes. And I thought, and I still think sometimes, and I have to catch myself, that another person is going to complete the picture, make life easier, safer, more manageable. But the universe has a funny way of forcing you to meet yourself sometimes. And it oftentimes comes with trauma or something bad happening. Or, man, I think about the universe and God, and you can use whatever word you believe in. If you're a Christian and you want to talk about Jesus's path, that's fine too. But for me, I say God and I say universe, and I kind of use them interchangeably. But the universe, God, does this thing where it will force you to learn a lesson, and they will send it in hard times or trauma, something bad happening. And I'm going to tell you one that I had to learn, specifically around relationships and that I am not enough scenario. There was a guy I dated after my divorce, my first real relationship post-divorce. And he was kind of everything that my husband was not, right? So immediately I was drawn to his energy, his passion, all of that. And things moved really fast. Also, if I'm going to be candid with you, he bought us a house. He got us in a better financial situation, or so I thought. And I thought, wow, finally someone's here helping me, and that's amazing. Now, that also means I ignored red flags, right? And it finally came to a really like screeching halt red flag when my son, after we'd already moved into this beautiful new home with my ex-boyfriend, he was in late elementary and he used to have these night terrors. And for all the parents who have experienced it, it's so scary. He would cry, scream, walk around. He had no clue what he was doing. And one evening, I was asleep. He was having a night terror. I heard him. It woke me up. He was screaming, upset, scared. And I'm going and looking for him and also looking for my partner that I wasn't in bed for some reason. And I go downstairs and I find him out by the pool with my son out there as well. And he was so messed up in the head. I think he had been smoking weed and drinking and whatnot that he could not compute that my son was having a meltdown. He was completely checked out. And that moment, high by the pool, not present, not capable, I remember it just being like reality snapping into focus because the lie I had been believing was I need someone to help me do life just crashed, right? In that moment, I realized sometimes the presence of the wrong person creates more loneliness than being alone ever could. And that changed me. And that's just one example of how I have sabotaged myself over the years by not listening to those red flags. But the universe, God just said, hey, Brittney, you need to learn this again. Thankfully, I was able to get my son in bed. Everything was fine. He didn't even remember it. But that was the catalyst to get me to change out of that situation. Now, here's what neuroscience says, and it gets really interesting. The brain is so obsessed with safety, not fulfillment, not purpose, not abundance, safety. And so if your identity is built around, I'm not enough, I can't do this alone, I'm not capable, then your brain will literally try to keep you inside situations that reinforce those beliefs because they're familiar. Even unhealthy relationships can feel safe to the nervous system if they match your identity. And that's why people repeat the patterns that, the devil is safer than the devil you don't. But it's not true. And the brain will say, at least we know this pain because unknown growth feels threatening, which is why so many people sabotage opportunities the second life starts expanding. More money, panic. Healthy relationship, suspicion. Big opportunity, self-doubt. Because your nervous system is trying to pull you back towards the identity it recognizes. And let's level out of this because obviously I've come far and I'm still working on that same lie. I'm not enough. But I learned that was not for me. That relationship was not for me. And it was only harming me and my kids. But I truly believe that everything is energy and the universe and what you attract is all there if you're vibrating at that level. This is where people like Tony Robbins and a lot of spiritual teachers overlap in interesting ways. Your energy matters. Not in some fake good vibes only way. I mean, genuinely, the emotional frequency you live in shapes your decisions. So if deep down you believe I'm not enough, you move differently. You tolerate more. You negotiate differently. You love differently. You shrink before life even asks you to. And I think the universe responds to identity, not wishful thinking. You don't attract what you want. You attract what feels emotionally familiar. That's why affirmations matter, okay? It flips the script. Not because you're magically manifesting a Lambo under the moonlight while drinking celery juice, okay? Although if you want to do that, that sounds fun. But because repetition shapes identity. The brain is going to listen to what it hears repeatedly. So working on affirmations surrounding the lie that you have about yourself helps. I listened to this amazing podcast. I can't remember what it is, but the guy said, whatever the lie is that you're reworking, right? Whatever the limiting belief, the lie that's keeping you stuck that you need to rework, reframe it. I am not enough. Let's reframe that into something like, I am whole, or I am enough for myself, whatever you want to say. And then repeat that affirmation all day long. When you take a sip of water, I am enough. When you are on a walk, no things in your ears. What you should put in your ears is that affirmation. I am enough. I am worthy. I am whole. I need no one else to complete me because I complete myself. Before you go to bed, brush your teeth. Everywhere in your day, say it, because that's the reset you need. I started doing this. I started changing the internal conversation, and it changed my life. And honestly, at first I felt stupid, because when you've believed something for years, affirmation can feel fake. But neuroscience says something important. Remember, neurons that fire together wire together, meaning the more consistently you interrupt that old belief with a new one, then that pathway becomes stronger. So instead, I can't do this, it became, I'm figuring this out. Instead of, I need someone, it became, I am capable. Instead of, I'm not enough, it became, I already am. And slowly, your nervous system, it starts catching up to your future. Another thing that helped me tremendously was something inspired by David Goggins and his idea of the cookie jar. Every win I started getting mattered. For money, every commission check I earned added that to my mental cookie jar. Every hard conversation I had to have, like when I ended up breaking up with that boyfriend, I put that in my cookie jar. I can do hard things. Every risk, every challenge I survived, I would keep evidence of it. Now, this can be real. You can make a cookie jar and write it and stick it in there. It could be a notes section on your phone. I carry a journal with me everywhere that I go because I believe writing for me helps me keep things stuck in my head. Because what happens is, if you do this, when your brain starts spiraling, then you need the proof, not fantasy, proof. And eventually your mind starts realizing, wait, I've already survived hard things, and that builds self-trust. And that self-trust changes everything. So let's talk about the real healing here, because I think one of the biggest lies in personal development is the idea that healing means becoming fearless. And that's so not true. I'm still worried and scared sometimes. I'm not fearless, but what I am becoming is trying to be safe with myself. That's different, right? It's knowing I can handle discomfort. I can survive disappointment. I can recover from the mistakes I made, and I can trust myself enough to adapt and listen to those red flags. And honestly, this is what has been changing my life. Not finding the perfect relationship, not making more money, not external validation. I'm finding a relationship with me, learning to trust me. So if you've been carrying the lie that you're not enough, I need you to hear this. Your brain may have learned that belief, but learned beliefs, they can be rewritten. You are not your conditioning. You are not your fear. You are not your past relationships. You are not the survival version of you. And maybe the reason life keeps pushing you into uncomfortable situations is because God is trying to introduce you to the version of yourself that's been there all along, the capable one, the whole one, the enough one. Because the truth is, you don't need someone to save you. You need to become the version of you that no longer needs saving. And always, I'll leave you with this. What kind of BS are you cutting out to get closer to your dream?